Thank you, Patches, and then thank you, panelists that are here right now, and then for the lightning talks. And it's a deep topics that could take a lot of time to unravel the details. So as we kind of dig into the conversations here, just to kind of summarize and ground us in, so the panel we have right now, essentially the best minds that are shaping the inter-agents governance. Like, so we have Google's A2A, Cisco's agency, NIR's decentralized agent protocols, and of course IEEE's IC 25003 standards that is evolving. And so as we kind of, before we get into the deeper conversation, all of these four essentially are representing domains of standards, controls, accountabilities that must be held across cloud enterprises, protocols, and regulation. As we go into this, just wanted to clarify actually something very quickly from Cameron. So Cameron, in your lightning talk, you talked about formally verified. Can you clarify within the context that you're using that terminology so that we have a better framing and understanding of formally verified?
Yeah, so this is a old space. This formal verification is not new.
Hmm.
And the whole point is proving or disproving correctness of a system.
Yeah.
And so this is where you actually generate math proofs and then prove them to verify some sort of state. You actually need to kind of know what you're verifying before you verify it. And the whole goal, long term, this is like way further out. And there are a lot of companies today that are dedicated to this. And we are very interested in this space, but it is very much so research for us.
Hmm.
And you're doing it through essentially paying the best math students around the world to label math questions to create the best reasoning engine in order to generate the proof and then prove it. So that is the end goal, but takes a long time to get there.
Yeah, no, thank you for that clarification. I'm just making sure that we understand formally verified, because you mentioned the history behind that terminology. So thank you for that clarification. So as we get into it, let's maybe start first with Majumdar, and let's talk about like how can an enterprise independently prove across vendors that are multi-agent systems, remaining inside with approved authorities and boundaries, during a real incident, like not just a benchmark, but a real incident. And what assumptions does, IC 25003 currently makes about identity registries and delegation that could, collapse across open systems or open ecosystems. You brought up a couple of good points, especially around the governance and then hallucination and the interoperability aspect of that. Perhaps I'll pose that question maybe to John, and perhaps if you can speak to those things that Sua was trying to kind of address, those three aspects. And then within from an agency perspective, how do you see those three core areas kind of being addressed?
Yeah, the three core areas you're talking about is like identity verification, and
Yeah.
the third is
uh Governance, I think, is he was getting to.
governance and
I
stuff.
think, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I really like the slide that Alan brought up before. So on showing the different frameworks and stuff in the cartoon version, that was really cool. So it was showing the different building blocks that you need. So I'm John Parello, principal engineer at Cisco. I get to work alongside Luca, who's doing amazing work on agency and A2A. And one of the things that we took up when we took agency is we went the typical internet way, is that we said, well, if we're going to have this new internet of agents, you're going to need building blocks in order to do these enterprise grade systems.
Hmm.
So you're going to need identity, you're going to need governance, you're going to need descriptions of what an agent can do, you're going to need a directory of agents, you're going to need communication protocols that are changing. So we put out the whole thing, like
Yeah.
one of everything, way
Hmm.
early. And now that they've been coming up, we've been saying, let's take the best of each one and try to put them all together.
Yeah.
Right. So we're kind of like proving ground of with an SDK coming together and say, okay, let's take this directory, let's take this version, let's take a version of observability. All of these things have to come together in order to have enterprise grade applications. So if you have, as you said, those three pillars, I
Hmm.
have to identify the agent, who the agent's working for. I have to understand the skills, and it can't just be hashtag I do video. It has to be I do video that is government certified for this job, so that I am certified in that. I have to know that this agent is the agent that I thought it was, that had those skills in the directory. I need a communication protocol for all these things going together. So those three pillars are really good, for preventing and looking at jobs to be done.
Yeah.
But what happens a lot of times, we look at things after it's been done.
Mm-hmm.
So we also looked at it and said, well, all right, if you transfer money from one bank to another bank, we can undo it if it went into the wrong place. But if I transfer it to a crypto, I can't undo it. So there are some places where you want to look at what happened afterwards. And that's where you're going to need observability. You're going to need open telemetry. So there are a lot of pillars that have to go through. Not just those three are super important right now, but there are other pillars that we're going to have to get to. So what we're doing at Agency is trying to look at all those pillars together and then bring them forward.
Thank you for digging into that. Would like to kind of bring in Alan from an A2A perspective, and kind of building on what John shared about the three pillars that Souva kind of started. John, within kind of a A2A, A2P, A2A UI, how are you guys thinking about essentially those three core pillars, especially when it comes to enterprise implementations?
Sure. I mean, again, we're kind of all working in the same space, right?
Yes.
And we're solving a lot of the same problems. And the truth is, we're trying to reconcile as much as possible. It's slow. And sometimes from the outside, if you're not in the project, it feels like that's not happening. But I do think that it is happening.
Yeah.
So a couple of interesting anecdotes that are maybe not obvious. Identity feels like it's kind of solved, but it's largely kind of solved for humans, and we use OAuth or Workforce Identity Federation or whatever. If agents have a level of autonomy and they should be their own actors, agents themselves needs a form of identity. And a lot of the stuff that we have on the internet breaks because we have one bearer token for the identity, not two for two different, principal actors that we need to work on. So there's a lot of what works on the internet, let's just keep using it. And there's some new layers on top that we have to come up with, like new workarounds. So I think that that's the hard work that is actually happening. Governance, what is governance? It's, do you know all of your parts and pieces? Do you have a centralized control plan? Do you have observability? And then the truth is, we have these pillars to try and organize things, but the taxonomy goes really deep because we're all working on a lot of the same problems.
Yeah,
I know I'm rambling and I've lost.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So I think Alan, thank you for bringing that. I think one question, I think getting back to, and then maybe a clarification for me would be, so A2A, my understanding is to kind of being built under the Linux Foundation, as opposed to other standards bodies like IEEE. Can you like confirm or share some spotlights into that understanding, perhaps, and then perhaps the reasoning behind Linux versus IEEE, and what can be done and what is needed to kind of bring some more cohesiveness into that ecosystem?
You're hitting me with hard questions. Well, hold on, some of them are easy. Yes, we donated it to the Linux Foundation. Yes, we shopped it around to many other places that hold open standards style topics. And really, choices were made largely around drawing the biggest consensus. Who can we get on board who agree with these types of decisions? That is harder than I would like it to be in the real world. Again, I think that we have very good relationships with a lot of other actors, but it's difficult to get everybody to agree to various dotted lines. That's the driving force for this, because I think that the tech, honestly, is the easy part. Younger Alan doesn't like current Alan. Younger Alan only cared about the tech. Current Alan realizes that the people and the businesses need to have a lot of comfort in making decisions to agree, and the tech can kind of come along, right? There's a lot of technical solutions that will work in these spaces.
No, thank you. I know there are some harder questions to be asked, and then a lot of deep dives to happen. Kind of switching to Cameron. So your point of view on internal tooling and governance management of agentic resources, that with enterprises having their own agent registries, kind of like the same as them having their own private containers for cloud environments. Like, would love to kind of hear your perspective on internal tooling and governance and management of agentic resources within enterprise, and within the context of this broader kind of a agentic internet that we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, it really just boils down to utility. And we're talking about governance and standards, I think the actual drive of all of those things is going to be how useful these agents are. Because if they're not saving companies time and money, they're not. There's honestly, I don't think a huge need to standardize them. So I'd say that like whoever drives the most utility with these things are going to be the ones who sort of hold that decision.
Yeah.
And when it comes to identity, I think having some sort of like W3C human readable crypto wallet is actually a fantastic approach to identity, because you actually are able to verify the wallet in a decentralized way where there's not a single authority that's able to swap any of these things. When it comes to verification, I do think that like formal verification is the ideal goal, but we have a ways away to get there. But in the meantime, we do have this pretty amazing trusted execution environment, on the GPU now. So you're able to run large models, have agents interact in these things and verify. And you can check the attestations yourself, the hardware attestations. And I think that actually is a fantastic short-term solution to a long-term problem. And when it comes to governance, I actually think this is where crypto plays a very important role as well, where you can actually have smart contract-based policies that are programmatic and automatic to enforce these, that are open source, that you can fork and edit if you want. And so when it comes to when you're saying like tooling inside of enterprises, maybe some of that is overkill, because I still think that we're trying to find that real utility in order to then drive the standard. But yeah, I'd say that like a lot of these things are kind of solved to a point. We just need to figure out what are the use cases that are really going to drive the standards. And that's where, again, just to reiterate, like we moved a bit away from a lot of our like agent framework work and everything else, because we're not seeing them outside of the enterprise. Inside the enterprise, they're getting there, but it needs to be generalized.
Thank you. And then doubling down on like, crypto-based payments and especially in the outside of the enterprise ecosystem. Can you put a highlight on, because the agents need to work at micropayments level at such fractional scale, right? That traditional denominations and values of settlement layers, they're just not going to be able to scale up, right? And then speed of execution and in this inter-agent environments is going to be critical from a usefulness perspective, right? Otherwise, bad experience will make people move away as these things are evolving. So can you speak to, again, like the fractional scale micro payments and things like tokenization, stable coins, or Web3 payment rails that could play a bigger role in the agentic web to ensure that we can scale up versus the some of the glue of the system, not enabling the scale up.
Absolutely. And this is only going to work if it's completely abstracted away from the user. Like people today buy credits. That credit should just turn into a stable coin, deposited into an account that the developer owns, that the agent has access to. And that is like, we need a sort of abstracted on-ramp experience. And this is actually provided by organizations like Coinbase, where people can on-ramp USDC into an account without having to go through some sort of KYC process. So I'd say like that's one of the key things. And when it comes to ensuring that these distributed networks have the scale to handle this demand, I can speak to the near side of things. We just actually announced yesterday through public benchmarks, we were able to hit a million transactions per second. Now, I actually think that still might be too slow for the scale of agentic commerce, but it's also pretty damn impressive to hit a million TPS in a distributed network. But the point is, we still need that utility. Like we still need those agents that can go do those things. And so I just think that this is the more reasonable approach for what you said. Like these transactions are going to be micropayments. They are going to be, agent to agent. And I think one of the entities that's probably going to drive a lot of this initial adoption is Cloudflare. So they have their like pay per crawl. They're collaborating closely with Coinbase and the X402 standard. I do think that I'm very excited to see what's happening on that front because we do need a better way to monetize the internet in a post-AI world where people aren't clicking links anymore, publishers aren't getting paid as much. And so having these sort of new monetization mechanisms is going to be critical, and it will be agent-driven. And I do think it's going to be crypto-driven as well, as long as it's abstracted away. It cannot be in anyone's face.
Mhm.
And we do have the tech to enable this. And I do want to quickly address, and I'll make it short, around the automatic, like, no ability to do chargebacks in crypto. Generally, you're right. These transactions are autonomic and deterministic, but there are ways to have these sort of escrow contracts that sort of sit there, and you're going to need some sort of risk analysis and an underwriter to underwrite those transactions. But I actually think that it's very doable, and as long as we are able to assess the risk of certain transactions, we can attract essentially insurers to underwrite them. But we need to figure out identity first.
I think identity and risk management is extremely crucial, especially for enterprise adoption, right, as well, especially in auditable spaces. Alan, what's your perspective on what Cameron built up on? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 6 years in payments at Google prior to joining cloud for agents a couple years ago. We did micropayments with fiat currencies, and every time I started talking to my wife about payments, she'd fall asleep. Like it's if you're in that space, you think it's super cool, and if you're not in that space, you just assume it's easy and that it happens automatically. And then when something goes wrong, you need help. Solving for what goes wrong is most of what payments is really about. How it happens, I think, can go a lot of ways. I'm a couple years rusty. I talked to a few people that are talking about evolutions of crypto and stable coins and how it's becoming more well adopted. But echoing my earlier statement, I care a lot about, can my wife, can my mom use these systems, and will they understand and trust them? And I think that crypto is a fantastic solution, and some of the underlying technologies are fantastic solutions and maybe the answer. I am not committed to forcing that to be the only answer. I just need to solve the use case problems, and I need to make sure that we can do so. That honestly, the underlying principle behind the agent payment protocol, the AP2 thing that we put out, was all about trust. So instead of trying to come up with a system around chargebacks or whatever, how can we validate the delegation of authority to the agent to have made this transaction on your behalf? That, I think, is a very interesting bridge, and it would work across any form of payment, both crypto and non-crypto. And we've been working with X402 as well. I mean, I think X402 is a great mechanism for requesting payment upfront. We need all of these things, and we need them to be easy so that my mom can use them.
I think that's a perfect persona as well, and I think that's where a lot of us propose basically are strong proponents of the handshake that needs to happen between the Web 2 and the Web 3, because the Web 2 is where the world is living right now, right? So that trust to, can my mom trust it and use it, is extremely critical. Taking it to John, would love to kind of hear your perspective on this dialogue, especially on how do we test it? Like, how do we make sure that we get the right level of user testing and implementation done, so we can get this information and feedback and actually input into these evolving interoperability protocols and mechanisms.
Yeah, I think it's coming from Cisco and coming from the group that we formed with Agency. We bring a perspective of let's try it out. In the beginning of the internet, we used to have like competing standards. It's not really competing standards. We're all tapping around the same thing, and we have different viewpoints. So we need to deliberate, not really debate, come together and try to figure out what we're going to do. And that used to happen at the IETF, IEEE, and then we would go write the code. It's way too fast for this now. That's why we're all doing this in the Linux Foundation. You've got to get the code up and running first. Yeah. Well, right now everybody's getting the code up and running, but let's wind the clock back to the beginning of the internet. No one was going to take their 911 call centers and start doing phone calls over the internet overnight. Somebody was like, show me it first, right? That's one of the things we're trying to do with Agency, right? We're taking all of those things together and saying, great, latest proposal, let's bring it together. But then we're going to system integrators and saying, can we show this working at scale? Can you show me, as you were saying, 1 million transactions a second, and showing it working at the proper scale, not just, hey, I have a rig setup, but at a global scale. That's when it will get adoption, right? Until that happens, there's always like we've got it here. First one has to be free, sort of, and show it running, and then we'll expand to it. That's what we're trying to do at Agency. One of the things that we did is we set up a coffee agency in there. where it's just basically a supply chain. But we're trying to show agents from all over the world, from Brazil, Colombia, and something coming together on a supply chain problem where they're going to have to exchange micropayments and say, oh, I'm going to use your agent. I have to pay for it. Oh, but I'm actually going to have to transact. All these things that we're debating in here, we have to show it running, and then it'll be adopted. That's the next steps. That's one of the things we're trying to do at agencies. Don't be highly opinionated on our protocols. Put out one and then say, yeah, anyway, we'll go with that one. MCP, if you want to do that one, we'll go with that one. That's why we're all coming under Linux Foundation.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Trust and verify at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I think within the interagent environments and ecosystem, there is one aspect. I mean, we talk about the enterprise perspective. I think Cameron brought in both perspective from the enterprise layer, internal layers versus external general marketplace. As I think in Nanda, we're talking about, the evolving economy of the wisdom-based economy, where we all can create our own semantic agents and then can monetize essentially our own expertise and experiences and things like that, pay for services and interact with both public and private ecosystems, right? So there are two things, a couple of things, of course, come into it. Like we talked about registry of agents, like and then talk about identity of those agents, both enterprise as well as the marketplace, down to like my mom's, personal agents interacting with Shopify, powered by Cisco, and then with payments kind of going through, PayPal's mechanism, whatever those might be. So as these things are evolving, maybe taking Alan's, my mother's as a persona, maybe I'll pose it back to Cameron. Can you like walk through like what needs to be done in evolution of protocols and technologies and interaction layers and everything to enable that my mom's journey from an end user into enterprise and back?
Yeah, well, I would probably start with enterprise, and I really like John's perspective of
Mhm.
like show, don't tell in a way.
Yeah.
Like we do need to demonstrate this working before your mom even sees it, and even when it is ready for everyone's mothers, they don't even have to look behind the curtain and kind of understand what's going. Like obviously they should be able to. They should be able to verify it themselves, and that should be an option, but it needs to be abstracted away to gain any type of adoption.
Yeah.
And so, and the use cases need to be relevant to them, like solve real problems. And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a roundabout answer, but like we do need all of this other infrastructure built out, which is why this has been a almost 7-year project for Near, and it's like step by step. Like we need the database that can scale state. We need to abstract all the payment mechanisms. If we are trying to do agentic payments, and someone wants to pay New York Times in rupee, but the vendor only accepts dollar, like you're going to need an interchange essentially there. And that's what we call near intents. So like then you need the giant liquidity network to enable like cross asset transfer. And then you need all the use cases on top. So it's this giant web. And actually I was talking with the Nanda crew early on, like I think this was in February, about this giant. I have a diagram with like every little piece of this puzzle, and it's impossible for one organization to do, like literally impossible. Maybe Google, Alan, you might be able to do it, but we do need to come together as honestly humans to solve this and make it relevant for everybody.
Fully agree. Plenty of opportunity, and I think that there are two. I know we are getting short on time. There are two more questions I would like to pose. I'll kind of preset it, and I would like, person-to-person interaction. So there are two things. One is I want to address the cybersecurity and then threat protection, right? Because as MCPs and A2As, it kind of like agents are evolving into the ecosystem. We're talking about enterprise versus end users interacting. That also kind of opens a lot of vulnerability layers to it. And maybe Alan, if you can, and John, if you can just elaborate on that. And then from that, I would like to kind of go back and then pose a question to all of you on, um, how do your individual efforts naturally intersects, and what is the smallest, most actionable layer of interagent cooperation the four of you would align on today, that would meaningfully reduce the control fragmentation that is across the ecosystem? So that's a second part of the question, but maybe um, Alan, if you can take the cybersecurity thing, and then maybe we can do the quick roundtable on smallest, most actionable layer that we can bring this fragmentation across the ecosystem and reduce that.
We're doing more and we're doing it faster, right? That is scary. That's scary from a security and control standpoint. And I don't think there exists a comprehensive solution yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have parts and pieces of solutions, we have guardrails, we have ways to mitigate, we have defense in depth. But even before AI, cybersecurity was not a solved problem. I don't think that it can be a solved problem. But we absolutely must treat it first-class citizen. It should be part of every design discussion, and we need constant red teaming attacks across whatever the surfaces are that we're trying to build out. I think that we as an industry are doing that. There are some existential like alignment problems that are a little bit outside of scope for this conversation. They also matter a lot, but from an implementation standpoint, we rely on our experts to collaborate and provide us utility libraries that we can rely on, right? I don't want to build my own auth. I learned that, in the early 90s. I built my own auth. It wasn't very good. I need other people to build hardened things that I can rely on. We as an industry are trying to build those hardened things. We need people to red team against them and collaborate so that they're reliable for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. I know in the last 1 minute, I would like to kind of bring it back together. And in terms of what is the smallest, most actionable layer of interagent cooperation the four of you could potentially align on today that would meaningfully reduce the fragmentation that is in the ecosystem. Maybe I'll start with Souva if you're back. Take it from an IEEE perspective, and then yeah.
Yes, I'm extremely sorry for the connection issues. So what interconnection of the agents, multiple agents, is basically the trust and also the evaluation. So we should how the agents are actually behaving. So
I think
I'm going
you're
to type it
still.
down because
Yeah, please write it down in the chat. I think your perspective is very important and crucial to this. But
I will do
unfortunately, we're
that.
having connectivity issue. So maybe I'll pass it to John to continue that.
Yeah, I think this, I like the way I think Karen was saying, we're going step by step up. So what's the next actionable thing? It's the really good motion that's going on in the Linux Foundation with the cards. We have to agree what the definition is going to be. That's like the next first step in front of everybody. We've got the communications going, but now like, okay, what's the exchange of information of what an agent looks like? We want to get to the point where I'm going to use the interruptions as a positive. Look, we're all humans here talking on this channel, and we joined in, and then some of us had latency problems and we missed it. And they're like, oh, wait, well, that's going to happen when the agents get together. We're not up to that one yet. That's a big problem, but we're not up to that one yet. First, the problem that we have, even in the panelists, was identifying the person and bringing them in the room. Let's identify the person, bringing them in the room. That's the next actionable set. And we all have to agree on that. Then we'll get to the hard problems that Luca and the folks are working on, which is the latency issues. And I missed it, and catch me up on the conversation, things like that. We're not up to that yet. First cards, then communication.
Yep. Thank you, John. Cameron, bring it home.
Yep. Evals. Drop the link in the chat. I'm very interested in computer use evals specifically. I do think I know it's hard, but this to me is like what people think about when they think of agents managing their stuff on the internet. And I think a lot of it's going to be computer use driven. And so, yes, drop the link here. I'm working with the Silverstream team. It's really, really cool. Bunch of ex-Google guys actually. And so, yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Great conversation. I mean, we could have gone for hours here because the topic is so huge. But this is a great conversation. This is a great starting point. One thing I would encourage as things are evolving is to continue to collaborate and connect together and then build towards this mission.